Hello and welcome to PBM Entertainment's An Archer's Tale. And today's tale is about a species of animal that is going extinct, and we don't even know it. There's been a decline in both sperm counts, in both eggs, estrogen levels, hormone levels, birth rates, miscarriages. The species I'm talking about are human beings. We're slowly going extinct. And how are we going extinct? It's not the coronavirus. It's not World War III. It's not various other things that you might have seen on TV. The reason why we're all slowly going extinct is because of these. Plastics. That is the reason why we're all slowly going extinct, and I'm about to tell you why. Stay tuned. So, I read a book called Countdown by Dr. Shannon H. Schoen, PhD, talking about everything to do with the declining sperm rates, estrogen levels, and testosterone in human beings over the last 50 to 70 years. So she's been looking into phthalates. Now you might be thinking, what are phthalates? Phthalates are esters of phthalic acid. There are substances added to plastics to increase the flexibility, transparency, durability, and longevity as well. Now, these phthalates chemicals leach into the food that we eat, into the water we drink, and also the processing, so the making of these plastics, as you're probably well aware, create air pollution as well. So it affects the air that we breathe as well. Now, the processing of these actual foods and of these materials, all of these processes leach onto the food that we eat. So processing meat to the milk, so the tubes that milk the cows and put it into the bottles. All of these things, because they're phthalates within the plastics, leach into the food that we eat. In fact, she says in the book that warming up plastics in microwaves is a big no-no. Having plastic bottles of water out in the sun is a big no-no because the phthalates leach into these when they're warmed up. When the plastics are warmed up, the phthalates leach into the water and the food. So bear that in mind. Phthalates in pesticides also in rural areas also affect the food that we eat as well. So from literally the beginning, from the farm, all the way along the processing line to literally the home, phthalates and plastics and these chemicals are leaching onto the food that we eat. And you might be asking yourself, well, why is that so detrimental? Why is that so important? Well, we're going to go into that a little bit later on now. So, in the book Countdown by Dr. Shannon Shaw, she studied phthalate levels in men and women's urines over the course of the last 20 to 30 years at various stages of their lives, particularly pregnant women or couples struggling to conceive. And what she found is that there's the increased phthalate levels within the urine of mothers affect the sizes of their sons' genitalia, their sperm count levels, and also their testosterone levels at a later age also decrease as well, which all can affect, whether or not a man is willing to conceive. And we'll go into a bit more detail in the book about the reasons why. Now, over the course of the last, I think, 20 to 40 years, there's actually been a steady increase in miscarriage rates, over a 1% increase per year. That's more and more miscarriages happening for couples over the course of the last few decades than our grandparents did. In fact, she notes in the book that a woman born today can have less children. So I think it's 50% less children than her grandmother did, which is startling. And if the trend continues, what we're looking at is a consistent, decline in both testosterone and estrogen levels, which are resulting in less babies being born or babies being born with less levels of testosterone and estrogen that will enable them not to conceive, or less likely to conceive, healthy babies moving forward. And you might be asking yourself, well, what does that mean moving forward as well? Or how do these phthalates affect the endocrine system as well, which we'll go into now. So the endocrine system, it's the hormone system. So this system regulates and creates hormones, which are chemicals that affect everything that we do, from testosterone levels, estrogen levels, insulin, blood sugar levels. Everything is affected by the endocrine and hormone levels. Now, these chemicals that are regulated within our body are affected by the various things that we do. So our environment, the things that we eat and drink. Increased phthalate levels mean that they disrupt the endocrine system, resulting in problems with men and women's fertility, amongst other things. More and more men aged 40 and under are experiencing erectile dysfunction, for example. Girls are experiencing their periods earlier, some cases as early as 9 or 10. So the increase in phthalates are affecting various different things within men and women's lives that can affect their fertility. In fact, ovulation problems account for a third of their fertility issues that will result in men and women and couples looking for things like IVF. Now, the problems used to be attributed to mainly women, but more and more research is finding that these problems are also resulting to either men's low sperm count or low sperm quality. Now, a woman has between 2 to 3 million eggs in her whole lifetime. That's it. It's unlike men, which manufacture maybe 50 to 100 million sperm, maybe every other week, depending on, obviously, their ejaculation cycle. Women suffer infertility, miscarriages, older eggs. There could be chromosomal zonal abnormalities that lead to Down syndromes and other genetical diseases within their children. So, obviously, if women were to wait longer and longer for children, it could result in poorer quality of eggs, or they could have used up a lot of their eggs within a certain time frame as well. So there's a lot of case studies in the book of Countdown that says of couples that found out for various reasons why they couldn't have, or they were struggling to get children naturally. So ideally, as it says in the book, women ages to get pregnant before the age of 35. That's on average. Obviously, there's people that have got pregnant after that and had healthy children, and women who struggle to have conceived children even before that. But it's always good to try and have a look at your own, or speak to your own doctor if you have any issues with that, if you're looking to conceive. Men, ideal ages to help conceive is not before the ages of 45. That's because the sperm count rate usually goes down, one, and two, the sperm quality normally goes down as well. Now, this is on average. This is not something whereby it's for definite for all men, but it's something to bear in mind, because as you get older, the quality of both the sperm and the eggs may decrease, which means that they are more likely for your children to have genetical disorders, more likely to get miscarriages, and also more likely to use assisted delivery such as IVF, so less likely to do it naturally. Now, as I say, repeated miscarriages are not necessarily the fault of the woman. Like I say, a third of it is down to the ladies, and so a third of it is down to people not knowing who it could be, and a third of it down to being men. So there's equal blame that can be put on everyone. It shouldn't always be down to the women, which was kind of common knowledge until people like Dr. Swan started studying this thing. Now, repeated miscarriages may not be likely, like I say, the fault of the women, but you need to obviously be aware of other things that affect the endocrine system that phthalates might do. So it's not just fertility, but there's other diseases that might be affected by these disruptors. Endometriosis, I will definitely put that up for you to see, because I'm butchering that, is tissue similar to the lining of the womb that starts growing in other places, such as ovaries and fallopian tubes. And that actually causes a lot of pain for the women, but can be disrupted or can be caused by the phthalate levels or increased phthalate levels within women as well. So it's something that very much to look into. Now, going into detail about a person's sex is based on biology, a certain set of chromosomes, XY chromosomes. Gender is actually determined by how an individual sees themselves and how they feel, attitudes, etc. Now, stress can actually cause a woman's bodies to abort babies as well. So it's something that you have to be aware of. Things that also you have to look into are the anal genitalia distancing. So the size between the anus and the genitalia can affect phthalate levels. And as I said to you before earlier in the video, and also in the book Countdown, increased phthalate levels mean periodically that there may be issues, not just with your son or your daughter, there may be genetical issues that makes it difficult for them to conceive as well, children later on in life. Now, we also got to be aware of organic pollutants, toxic pollutants that affect, as I say, food, water, the air that we breathe, body stores, certain chemicals in our environments, which will actually change how the brain develops sexually as well, how they see themselves gender-wise. As I say, certain chemicals can affect how people perceive themselves. So the book goes into a lot of detail about transgender, dysmorphia, and various things such as that nature as well, and gives good indications of increased chemicals within amphibians and frogs can raise testosterone and estrogen levels that would make amphibians and frogs change sexes, make male frogs less aggressive and make women frogs more aggressive, and also vice versa. So it's also good to be aware of that within human beings. The chemicals that we are exposing to the environment is affecting them in a larger way. Now, BPA affects the reproductive systems in men badly as well as women. So BPA is chemicals that affect that are produced within plastics. PCOS, which is a polycystic ovary system, increases the chances of miscarriage. So that's why it's very important to not have plastics leach onto your food. Relating to the arising non-genetic influences, such as gene expressions or the epigenetic carcinogens, things that we smoke, things that we ingest that can actually affect us on a genetic scale. Biology trauma is also a real thing. So the biological trauma that parents experience that trauma can be affected in the cells and in the DNA of their children as well, such as I said before, stress, various other traumas. And so it's something to be aware of if you get pregnant. Women who are also exposed to the dialystherosterone, DES, in utero may have structural reproductive tract anomalies that increase the infertility rates and actually give poor pregnancy outcomes. So Dr. Swan actually looked at insects for this, dying of an alarming rate because of the various problems within the ecosystems due to the diethylspestosterol, DES. Again, I'll definitely put the correct spelling for it because I'm butchering the words. But all these chemicals that are readily available in plastics, or used to be definitely readily available until they started banning quite a lot of them, are still being produced and still being served in supermarkets for packaging and being ingested in various ways, such as air fresheners and used in perfumes. And it's something that we need to be definitely aware of and speak about and look into. Now, as I say, there's new regulations to try and stop various chemicals coming into or we're coming into contact with, but we need to obviously keep looking into these things. Or we will have more women than men in the future. We'll have less children being born. We'll have an extreme exposure for those people that are left to heat. So this is a good thing in the book. It says that sperm count, for example, if you want to have better sperm count for men, try not to go for saunas while you're trying to conceive. because increased heat in the area where you're making your babies or you're making your sperm actually reduces sperm count, and also is something to be aware of. For women, avoid smoking, alcohol, the various different things of that, including secondhand smoke, because the chemicals within the smoke can affect, obviously, the development of the babies and also have longer term effects for both the mother and the child. Basically, one of the good things that she says within the book is try and avoid foods that have TV commercials. So McDonald's, Burger King, and things like that, avoid those. Fast food, processed foods. Because as I said to you before in the video, and also it says in the actual book itself, that the more processed food that you have, the more likely to have more chemicals in the food to keep it fresh for longer, one. Two, that the products used to process the food will have plastics in, which is more exposure to these chemicals, and also more of those chemicals in your body, and it's obviously not good for you. The best thing to do is it says in the book, is to have a Mediterranean diet, more nuts, fresh fish, oily fish, that type of thing. So it goes into a lot of details of things that you can do to reduce your levels of phthalates and chemicals in your diet and in your lifestyle. So one thing that I've chosen to do is no longer have non-stick cookware. I used to have a non-stick pan. That has gone. So I now have like a stainless steel pans and things of that nature. Buy regular water filters as well. So I've got to cut down on the bottled water, because obviously it's surrounded by plastic. That's not necessarily good. But you should also not necessarily take straight from the tap water. So if you can boil it, brilliant. But also if you can buy water filters, which is what I'm going to try and do, that's also brilliant. Makeup for the ladies is a big one. Now, I know it's difficult because makeup does accentuate various things, and I know it's a billion-dollar industry, but do you know the chemicals that are involved with the making of eyelashes and lipstick and various things? Because those chemicals there can also affect you, especially if you're putting them on your body over an increased period of time. Again, she says try not to use shower curtains, plastic shower curtains, because plastic's heated up, not good. Or try not to use air fresheners. Try to use maybe baking soda to absorb bad smells as well. And that is basically it on that. I mean, I really want you to read the book, Countdown, by Dr. Shanna Swan. And that goes into a bit of detail. It's on Amazon and various other things as well. And that's it. Countdown by Dr. Shanna Swan. Please read it, or listen to it on Audible as well. It's a brilliant book, and hopefully it will change your life and hopefully help save the species. If you like this video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel as well. If you've got any comments, please share. And I appreciate it. Until next time, have a great day and a great bank holiday, and I'll see you again on another Archer's Tale. Bye.